Lorena Gaxiola. Thank you for coming and chatting to us today.
Thank you for having me.
So your title is you're an award-winning international interior designer. Tell me about your personal journey in terms of career to get to where you are today.
I think it starts with a lot of risk, really having a vision of kind of breaking the norm of what stereotypically people do as interior designers. It's been quite difficult, but it's challenging. But at the end of the day, it's giving me that, I guess, credibility and that opportunity to work overseas and in different countries. But it all started with, I was born and raised in Mexico, in Tijuana, which is a border town that borders with San Diego, California. And the people that live in that town, consider ourselves cross-border, so we can live in one town and study in the US. So I guess that's kind of like the first step into that international, I guess, world. So I studied in Mexico up until high school, and then I went to university in the United States. I graduated from interior design with a fine arts degree, and was in the US for about 20 years of my career until I met an Aussie, and then I made my way to Australia.
You came to join us.
And I came to join the...
But growing up, you wanted to be an architect,
right?
Is that correct?
My father's an architect, and I guess that was my exposure to design and architecture and, I guess, beautifying the world. That's all I knew. In the early 90s, interior design wasn't considered, it was more like decoration. And people associated with interior design was more housewives that had style and money, and they just had good taste. My parents were, we had to have a 4-year degree in university.
Yes,
so that
we had the same rule.
There was no negotiation. That was the rule. That's it.
Yeah.
Whatever we wanted to be, we could be, but it needed to be a full 4-year degree, full bachelor's.
Without failing.
Without failing, and it didn't matter if it took us like 20 years, but we had to have that degree. Or murder, So when I spoke to my dad about architecture, my dad basically said, listen, architecture is very difficult in Mexico because, he said it's no career for a woman in Mexico. He was afraid that I was going to end up just having a desk job. Architecture in Mexico has to do with design and construction and building, which is a little bit less organized, to say, as a point of comparison to a first world country like the United States or Australia would be. In Mexico, it's a lot more hands-on, and maybe the people that you deal with out on site, maybe they're not as refined. I guess he was more afraid of that for me. And he was the one that introduced me to interior design. He said, listen, in the US, they just accredited interior design as a degree under fine arts program. And he was the one that introduced me, and he opened the door for me to study in the United States. And then I went to university and studied interior design.
So design was always part of you growing up. As punishment, I think you were relegated towards the piano to do a few hours every day, and then you suddenly discovered that you had so much creativity and so much talent that punishment actually became your rewards.
My parents both were very creative people. I think in their own ways they were rule breakers in their families, and when they got together, they were the ones to move outside of the town where the families were from. We live in a town where it was just us, my parents and my siblings, and all my cousins and everyone else was in a different town. I think they were very curious about exploring new things and traveling and seeing the world, and I think that curiosity is in all of us, my siblings included, even though only my brother and I ended up in the arts. My brother's an architect as well. But for me, I've always been drawing and painting and storytelling, and being a comedian, I love comedy. But I think my mom, because she knew that I had a talent for drawing and painting since I was a little kid, she did put me in fine art classes whenever I was being mischievous, and she put me on classical art painting with 60-year-old ladies and classical music, and that was my form of punishment. But it also taught me how to paint in every media. And by the time I was able to go to university, I really enjoyed the process.
Tell me how you managed to succeed in a male-oriented industry.
I'm not a big crier. I think that's number one. I hate to say it, but men don't like a lot of emotion, and I'm not one to cry. I'm quite thick skin. I mean, even now people think that they need to treat me like a gentle rose, and I'm like, no, give it to me. It's okay. I can take it.
Yeah.
You know, I think I'm just tough. And I don't take a lot of things personal. I'm not one to get my feelings hurt and then start crying and things like that. I think that was the very first step. I also think that my dad was a big influence. I mean, my father never treated us like gentle roses either. Not that he was rough or anything, but he was very equal in the way that he treated us and he treated my brother. And I think that, you know, I come from a big family, cousins, male, female, so we all punch each other, and you know, it was an environment that made me very comfortable to just be myself. And the building industry, I think it was more the males that had to get over working with the female than it was a female working with males. But I think there are times, I'm assuming that they feel more comfortable hiring a male. I do see companies that are competitors, that if they had a male person running sales or a male person running operations, those companies tend to be much more successful than an all-female team.
That particular developer asked you to disguise the fact that you were female.
You know, I had a chat to him the other day about it, and he corrected me on that one. And actually, he was right, because it had nothing to do with me being female and everything of him wanting to be respectful towards the rest of the team that was working with me. That's what he says, and I can't really think of the words exactly how he said it, but I was like, okay, fine, you're right. But it was more the fact that, you know, he said to me, listen, I want to be pissed off, and if I want to say F you, I feel more comfortable saying it to a male than I am saying it to you, because you know these people, right? So I did tell him, I don't care, you can say F you if I do a bad job. It doesn't matter to me. And he did say, it's not about you, it's about me. Right. So I respect that. You know, it was just his own values that he felt maybe more uncomfortable as treating me that way.
Because you're a deeply spiritually connected individual, one of the most mindful, balanced, spiritually enlightened, motivated people who I've ever met. And that resonates in design.
Because that's what I'm inspired by, but I'm not granola, I'm not, you know, talking to the angels all the time, I don't smell like lavender every day or anything like that. I'm not putting it down. I mean, trust me that I do cleanse my house and I do all the things to keep me in good energy. Because my mom was an alternative person, and that's the way she brought us up. Instead of taking me to, you know, therapy for being a mischievous child, she'll put me in art classes, or she'll take me to a lady who specializes in pyramid energy, and she'll sit me in the middle of a pyramid. So my mom taught me a lot of, I guess, alternative ways of re-energizing yourself and changing your aura to better, you know, your personality or your feelings. But in my homewares, to just speak about that, I'm more inspired to bring artwork to the home. And besides putting it on a piece of, you know, on a piece of art on the wall, I like to do artwork on rugs to put it on the floor. I also find that, you know, being an influencer as far as telling my clients what I recommend for them to purchase, I feel like when I was going to say to them, buy this chair, and they're like, why? What is that why? Because it's pink, because it's this brand. I mean, some people make a connection because they're buying into the brand and the lifestyle, but I wanted to create a concept that people will buy into the artwork and the inspiration behind the collection. Whether it was crystals or angels or the color, there was a message behind a single cup. Also wanted something that was a point of conversation. So that was the inspiration behind the collection. That's the inspiration behind the way that I design. I like a method to my madness, and I like a story with everything that I project.
How has PR amplified your personal profile and build your brand awareness and your brand narrative?
I've had a publicist, since for the past 13 years of my career, and I think early in my career was a very strategic move. I didn't understand what PR. I had friends, but this is in America, and I had friends that were in public relations, and I understood what public relations would do for a restaurant or a hotel or a big brand. But my friends really were the ones to introduce me and said, listen, you have all this experience. We need to put it out there. We need to show people. We need to build your credibility. And it was helpful in my career, early in my career, because I was very young. I started my company when I was 24, and I was competing with people that were in their 40s or their 50s. And working in the real estate industry and the property industry, you know, you're looking at investments in the millions of dollars. So how will they hand over a $20 million building to a 24-year-old?
Yeah.
Imperative for me to get into PR when I decided to move my practice 3 years ago. And that's really what's been helpful, because nobody knows me here. I mean, all of a sudden I'm going to be knocking on people's doors and I can show up in a portfolio. But with PR, it really gives us the recognition and the credibility that we need for people to I guess get to know our story and our background and our plans for the future,
and make you the authority within the design space. And now what you're doing, from what I see, is you're paying it forward and sharing your story and sharing your tales and sharing your life lessons with students,
right,
who are coming up in the industry, and you're now the mentor and holding their hands through the process. Why is that so important to you?
And I do want to be part of a charity, but and to contribute, and I know sometimes that's how I started learning about charities, that they say, you know, you want to contribute to Dress for Success. I'm like, okay, I'll help, but this is in America, obviously. And part of that Dress for Success was this women, battered women that wanted to enter the business and the industry. They would contact me, and I was to help them put their resume together and things like that. And that's really was what opened. And another one of the early charities was another one called Hermanitas, like Little Sisters. And it was about all these troubled women, you know, still in high school, and to empower them to study and to make it out there, and obviously being Hispanic, to really empower the Hispanic community.
What's the advice for students at university? 3 top tips if they want to be an amazing designer in Australia.
I always tell them, put your photo in your CV. I know in Australia it's more common to put your photo in the CV. In the United States they say that you shouldn't, because, you know, they might judge you because of it. But I said, use it on your advantage. I don't care. I mean, you're a designer. If you look really funky and you dress funky, we obviously look into social media. That's tip number 2. You know, watch out for your social media, because we do look at it. You know, we see a resume, we see how beautiful it is, we look at the experience, and then we go into Facebook and we go into Instagram, and, you know, I feel sorry for the new generation, because we do stalk them, we do see, and we do judge based on that.
Perception.
So absolutely we do. So that's tip number 1 is put your photo in your CV, and number 2 is make sure you clean up your social media.
Who are one of the most positive people and spiritual people that I've, as I said, ever connected with? Now you're facing a different challenge, which is cancer.
Yep.
How is that affecting how you look at the world, look at design, look at going to work every day?
I think it has amplified my senses in every way possible, on a personal level as well as a professional level. On the professional level, it's helped me. My work, I'm just a creative person, and I work in what I know is my life purpose. So even though I have cancer, the fact that I get to go to work and be creative, it allows me to escape the harsh reality. You know, you know, this morning, for example, I went to a hematologist, and, you know, I have this discussion with her about my lungs and what sort of test that I need to get tomorrow. But then I can be super bummed as I'm driving to the office, and then I get to the office and they're like, oh, you know, we're having issues with this kitchen. And then that's it. I'm not thinking about my lungs or anything. I'm like sketching and looking at appliances, and it's just been a blessing for me to be able to work in what it is my life's purpose, because it's my way to run away from the harsh reality that it is cancer, and the terrifying diagnosis that is, and fall in love with my job more, and fall in love with my husband more, and love my daughter more. You know, everything has just amplified. And at the same time, I make decisions that are real. You know, when I have this client, and maybe the client is not very nice, and then they call me and they're like, can you help me with that? I'm actually not feeling great, and that's the honest truth. You know, I'm not taking work for the sake of taking work. I'm taking work that really matters, that really makes a purpose for me, it makes me happy, because I can't add any more negative distraction in my life. And now that I'm like, oh, I guess I can say no. And the world doesn't end. So it's taught me also how to create some guidelines and limitations and boundaries, absolutely.
Did you ever think that you were going to be as successful as Lorena Gaxiola today?
No. I think every year is different, and every 5 years is completely different. I do remember when I started in my career, I just wanted to be published. I remember I just wanted my name to be in a magazine. And I was able to check that really early in my career, and then I got hooked, and I was like, oh, I love that. I want more of my stuff being in magazines. I think right now, every 7 years I kind of get an itch to do something different. 7 years ago with my collection, and now I'm getting that itch of how can I create something where it just becomes supernatural, to just do. I don't measure success as far as being able to work overseas or work with clients. I measure the success on the fact that I've been able to find myself as a creative person, find my style, and trust that my aesthetic is something that people are willing to invest, and also become commercial enough that they feel comfortable with my product, and then at the same time create my own canvas, create something that makes me happy every day. So now if I can make other people feel super comfortable no matter where I am in the world, I think that will be the ultimate for me, because it's my challenge right now. My clients in the US want me there. Yeah. My clients here want me here, and I'm trying. Hello, I have cancer, I can't jump on a plane. So I think it's giving me an inspiration, figuring out how can I restructure my business so that it becomes solid no matter where I am.
Well, I personally want to thank you for investing in me and investing in Piccolo, because you've been so amazing to work with. You just come to life. Oh, I come to life when I work with you, and so I thank you for that. And in the next 5 years, I'm sure that you're going to live exactly the dream that you have envisaged for yourself.
Thank you. Well, it's all on you. You need to sell it. Thank you. No, thank you. Pleasure being here.